Greetings, I'm Harvey Cthulhu. Please subscribe and please hit the notification bell because YouTube has changed its algorithm and so smaller channels like us are getting shunted aside. Please subscribe. Thank you.
My friends, Star Trek is dead. Let's get that straight right away. Every true Star Trek fan who has watched this terminal turd of a television show knows that this isn't Star Trek. And yet, because CBS has such pull with the mainstream media, articles keep coming out trumpeting STD and Star TP as triumphs, thus gaslighting fans who have one success story in online articles and one feeling of sinking failure in their hearts. For this reason, I keep my eyes open for leaks, rumors, and other bits of information that may, from time to time, escape the Iron Curtain at CBS and prove that fans are not insane for doubting that the Emperor is wearing a red shirt. Well, my friends, I have a number of fascinating rumors and interesting observations now that confirm what I've been saying for years. Star Trek is dead, Jim. In this video, I'll be presenting some of these rumors along with some facts that support those rumors in an attempt to present a snapshot of the current deplorable state of Star Trek. Please consider everything you're about to hear as rumor unless documentation is provided. What happened to Star Trek in a nutshell? The situation is grim, my friends. The marketing geniuses at CBS have put people in charge of Star Trek who know virtually nothing about Star Trek, care nothing for Star Trek, and are doing everything they can to remake Star Trek into something as ignorant and arrogant as they are. I have reported, along with a number of other YouTubers, that every bit of Trek we've seen from 2009 onward has been non-canon. New Trek, created by bad reboot and suckerate hideout, corrupted by at least 25%. For marketing purposes. The intention was to create a separate brand of Star Trek walled off from everything that came before, that is 25% different for reasons of brand identity, and then aggressively market this alt-Trek brand, commonly referred to as Trek Prime, giving Jar Jar Abrams' bad reboot and Alex Kurtzman's secret hideout a chunk of merchandising profits from the bastardized Cuckoo Trek. Shills and CBS apologists have poo-pooed this notion, even though the designer of the corrupted version of the Enterprise seen in Star Trek Discovery has admitted he was given a mandate to make the ship at least 25% different from the actual Star Trek Enterprise. Indeed, the production of Star Trek Picard was delayed by a month, allegedly, because licensees revolted when they saw the art direction and designs for the new Picard series, angered that this was more new Trek garbage being shoved at them instead of actual Star Trek designs. The licensees apparently told CBS that fans want original Star Trek merchandise, that history has proven the public is not interested in STD and Abrams-verse movie Trek merchandise, and they cannot sell the crap that Abrams and Kurtzman are trying to peddle. This rumor is borne out by the astonishing and appalling lack of Star Trek Discovery merchandise in everyday retailers like Walmart and Target, so I tend to believe the rumor that licensees rebelled against buying into more licensing deals and that they revolted against licensing Picard products because they were squarely designed to be aligned with the Star Trek Discovery design aesthetic, drifting farther and farther away from the Star Trek fans know and love. Well, I have a brand new rumor delivered to me by my source that I can relate to you now, a rumor that, if true, speaks volumes about how much trouble the Star Trek brand is actually in. According to my source, the licensing arm of CBS tried to play hardball with some of the big licensees, essentially threatening that if they didn't agree to license products from Star Trek Picard, CBS would pull some or all of the other Star Trek licenses, essentially leaving those licensees high and dry without any Trek merchandise to market. And according to my source, this tactic backfired. My source tells me that rather than license Picard merchandise they knew they couldn't sell, the licensees preferred to drop all their Star Trek licenses because they could not afford the losses that they'd suffer trying to sell Picard shit that nobody wanted. Now just let that sink in for a moment. If this rumor is true, CBS was so desperate to get merchandise out from the Picard show, they were willing to risk losing more merchandising business by holding it hostage, and the potential licensees walked away from the table, thus leaving CBS with even less Star Trek merchandising deals than they had before, potentially. This is the reason, for example, that Anvos stopped marketing their Star Trek Beyond uniforms, I am told, and are phasing out their Trek-related content, primarily the new Trek garbage. So, while this is a rumor, you may ask, is there any reason at all to believe this is true? Is Picard set in the Next Generation universe or the corrupted Jar Jar Abrams, Alex Kurtzman, 25% different Shark Trek timeline? You be the judge. Here's a comparison of data from Star Trek Picard and the data we all know and love. Looks 25% different to me. That look like data to you? Of course, if this is canon, it shouldn't be data at all, since data was completely destroyed in Star Trek Nemesis, but then again, Kurtzman and Michael Chabon aren't Star Trek fans, and they probably never watched Nemesis, so it's unlikely they know that or give a damn, so yeah, I'm guessing this is their version of data. Aside from the weight gain, which is more the doing of time than CBS or Secret Hideout, the differences are striking. They've changed the hairline of data, made it more curved than angular. They've changed the eyes, making them 100% creepier, and they've changed the skin tone from a yellowish white to a jaundiced yellow usually only seen in hepatitis patients. In Star Trek Picard, Data essentially looks like an infected thumb with a face drawn on it. 25% different and 100% worse. That's not Data. And that's why licensees allegedly don't want anything to do with trying to sell this crap, if the rumor is accurate. And even if it's not, ask yourself, would you buy this? Do you want to look at this for 8 or 10 hours? Doesn't this make you a little sad, even a little sick? Welcome to the new Star Trek, folks. Maybe this is why Star Trek Picard is not being carried by Netflix internationally, and why Amazon picked up the international distribution rights for Picard for a song, a fraction of what CBS was hoping for. It is a fact that Amazon Prime has picked up the international distribution rights for Picard, and yet something interesting has arisen which begs the question, is Amazon having buyer's remorse about Picard? Check out these images. While Amazon has made the Star Trek Picard trailer available in the UK, it doesn't seem to be available elsewhere in the world. Does this mean that Amazon will be distributing Star Trek Picard as little as possible? That they don't even want to bother springing for the expense of translating and dubbing Star Trek Picard for non-English speaking countries? Do they think Picard is that much of a loser? God knows the trailer was a joke. It was obvious to me from the timing of the tweets announcing the casting that the addition of Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis to Star Trek Picard was not an integral part of the story. It was a last-minute desperation ploy, a cynical play to shoot a few scenes with them to fool fans into thinking that this was their Picard, that this show was going to be faithful to their next generation, and that this atrocity was going to be Star Trek. Riker and Troy are so integral to the story, in fact, that showrunner Michael Chabon shoehorned them in as cheaply as possible, presenting us with the idea that Picard, Riker, and Troy all retired to the same fucking affordable, easily photographed ranches, presumably in California. Riker and Troy are there to con you with good feelings at the start of the show, but rest assured, since they came in late, these scenes are just cameos. Nothing but celebrity walk-ons. They won't be a real part of the show. They won't be part of Picard's big adventure. In fact, Chabon is trying to sell us the idea that Riker and Troy would allow Picard to go off on a dangerous mission without them. There's some loyalty for you. That doesn't sound like the Will Riker I know. Though it does sound, I don't know, maybe 25% different. At least to me. Just as 7 of 9 is clearly 25% different as seen in the first trailer, her makeup is different and her demeanor is completely changed. Utterly gone are her Borg mannerisms and detached, unemotional attitude. Now she just seems like a good old gal and a pal to Picard whom she never met prior to this series. Yeah, it feels just like coming home, doesn't it? Provided strangers moved in while you were away. So much for Picard. So how is Star Trek Discovery faring these days? How are the short treks being received? I watched the short trek entitled Q&A, and I'll be releasing a review of that abomination sometime this week, but here's an excerpt of my reaction to seeing this shit trek from the Inquisition this past Sunday.
And they need to wake the fuck up and get back to giving guys who can write with ideas and talent a chance, a small amount. And then what you're doing is you're giving voices to actual creative people instead of nephews and hacks and pieces of garbage like Kurtzman and Chabon that have no goddamn business making movies because they have no goddamn passion. Seriously, there are people out there who bleed creatively, bleed. They have a lifetime of pain and experience to share. They have art in their souls, and then you have these worthless pieces of shit like Kurtzman and Abrams, soulless fucking pieces of garbage that are fucking out there, and they're just using their connections to enrich themselves, and they have nothing to say. It makes me goddamn furious.
That is how viscerally I despised that short trek. Q&A was an abomination just like the rest of Star Trek Discovery. And there's only so much a man can take. Amazing that a short trek can do so much harm to Star Trek in just 14 minutes, completely undermining the character of Spock and the legacy of Leonard Nimoy with a juvenile piece of fan fiction wherein a human female teaches Spock how to be a Vulcan in a stalled turbo elevator. But how are the short treks being received by the public? According to my source, rumor has it the recent short trek Q&A underperformed by more than half of the last few short treks, and those short treks, I'm told, fell short of their projected target ratings by massive margins. Indeed, while I'm not certain how valid this claim is, I'm informed by my source that international distributors don't want the short treks, and this seems to be validated by none other than Anthony Rapp himself, who, in an attempt to explain why the short treks are only available on CBS All Access and denied to the rest of the world, tweeted this. Just so folks know, this is not on Star Trek CBS and therefore something to think is wrong with them. This is about the complex international rights agreements between CBS All Access and its international partners. It's up to the partners to want the short treks. That seems to indicate that the partners do not want the short treks, according to Anthony Rapp. My friends, the current state of Star Trek is deplorable. It is dead, and its corpse is being abused routinely by the people who should be in charge of at least giving it a decent burial. I will have more to say about Star Trek and especially the short treks this week, but I leave you with this thought. Does this look like your Star Trek? And are you excited? From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.